What's up, Hatch Tribe? I just wanted to pop in to give you a little intro for this video that you're about to watch. So a couple of months ago, we hosted an online virtual workshop with Aimee Avalon, and she's the founder of an organization called Radical Female Academy. And she works with entrepreneurs and oftentimes very early stage entrepreneurs who are still trying to formulate their business idea and still trying to get something off the ground. But really, it's around this idea of building a purpose-driven event and really tapping into who you are, what it is that you are beautifully meant to create and bring into this world, and putting that all together so that you can launch an amazing business. So you're going to get to see that video of our interview, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to me or to Aimee Avalon with Radical Female Academy, and we'll chat soon. Well, hello. Hi, Hatch Tribe friends. Welcome to Building a Business with Purpose with Aimee Avalon. She's here from the Radical Female Academy, and I see that lots of you are already popping on. So while you guys are joining us, I'm going to take just a couple of seconds to, one, lay a little bit of foundation about what we're doing here today. Then I'm going to introduce Aimee and let her say hello to you, and then we're going to get rolling. Sound good, Aimee?
Sounds great.
Perfect. So today's workshop, as all of you know, is really about how do we build this deeper connection with our work and build a business that is purpose-driven. And I think it's whether you're an entrepreneur already or you're an aspiring entrepreneur, I think it's what all of us really desire, is that deeper connection, purpose, and passion in our work that also, importantly, leads to profit. And we're going to talk about a number of different things today, including how you identify and find your purpose, how you can tap into your zone of genius, and how that really starts to inform building a great business, and a whole host of other things with Aimee's help. So there is going to be time for questions. And what I would encourage you to do is, if you have them, there's a button at the bottom of the screen that says ask a question. And you can pop it in there, and I will check in periodically and we'll answer your questions. So know that that is really important to us that we do that today. And we encourage you to bring whatever questions you have. Now, I'm going to have Aimee introduce herself, but while she's doing that, for those of you who are participating with us live right now, I encourage you, pop in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from today, and if you already own a business or if you're an aspiring business owner. Now, Aimee, introduce yourself to the tribe.
All right. Hi, Hatch Tribe people. I'm really happy to be here. I know that this is an awesome group of women because I know that your amazing leader here is an incredible woman. So I'm excited to be here and be sharing my wisdom with you. And we're going to get really deep into what it means to find your purpose. Just a little bit of backstory about me. I'm a purpose coach. I've been doing therapy and really like vocational counseling for over, 15 years. Yeah. I have built multiple businesses, so I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Yay.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really beautiful about finding your purpose is that it's always evolving. Mm-hmm. Purpose is forever evolving. So it's never a static thing. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's also a very confusing thing for people. Yeah. So we'll get into more of that, but
that's perfect. Aimee, where are you in the world today? Because everybody else, of course, is sharing where they are. So tell us where you live.
Yep. So I live just north of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, near San Francisco.
Awesome.
So I love where I'm at because I'm between the Golden Gate Bridge and Napa Valley.
Oh, well, that sounds like a lovely place to be right about now.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a few little shout outs here. We've got Sue on, and Elizabeth and Erin. Ashley, she says she's in Charleston and she's an aspiring business owner. What's up, Ashley? Erin's also in Charleston and she's an independent personal trainer. Sharon from Pittsburgh is an aspiring entrepreneur. Purple Water One, whomever you are, from Charleston. Janet has a 6-month-old business. Perfect. We've got Jenna here from Charleston, Jennifer from Mount Pleasant. So awesome. We've got folks that are already owning businesses and some others who are saying like, I want to do this, and know that you're all in good hands. So, all right, let's kick this off by just defining one thing that I think is really important before we even move one step further. What is purpose? How do we need to be thinking about it?
Yeah, so great question. Purpose is reason. Purpose is knowing your reason. And knowing your reason is really knowing your why, right? Because when you know your why, it gives your life meaning. And when your life has meaning, you have hope. And when you have hope, you have resiliency, right? You have the energy to push forward on whatever it is that you're doing. And we know that everything in this world is made up of energy. And so without resiliency, without energy, we're not evolving. And so it really is, purpose really is evolution. So that's sort of like a strange way to define it.
Yeah.
But it's why it's so important for us as human beings to find our purpose, to know our meaning, to understand why we're here, what we're meant to do. These are fundamental questions that we humans have, and it's really a big answer.
Yeah.
It's because it involves our evolution.
No doubt.
So yeah.
And as you said, I mean, purpose is evolving. So my purpose potentially, 7 or 8 years ago, before I started my very first business, might look different today, and how it does. So how frequently do you think your own purpose evolves? I mean, is it constant?
Yeah.
Is it in a life cycle of 7 or 10 years? Like, what have you found through your work?
Yeah, so I think that there's no set answer for that, because it really depends on the individual, because your purpose evolves as you evolve. And so it's just right on target with your evolution.
Okay.
So you may have, your purpose is going to be different when you're 20, and then when you're 40, and then it would be something else when you're 60. But here's what's important. There's key attributes to your personality that do not change. These attributes you were born with. And it's understanding what those attributes are and making sure that the purpose that you choose to do, because it is your choice.
Yeah.
Because there's many different paths that you could take to fulfill your purpose, but the key is choosing the right path. And then from there, you evolve on your path. So you get on the right path, and then as you evolve, your purpose evolves with you.
So I hear you loud and clear. And I think for many of us, I myself included, like my story was I worked in a corporate environment. I was working for someone else. I wasn't totally lit up by the work. I mean, it was a good job. I made good money, but I didn't feel particularly connected to it. My heart wasn't really in it. And I thought, I want to do something else with my life. Like there has to be something else here. And to me, owning a business was definitely part of that. Like I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know exactly how to connect the dots. And what I'm thinking about is, yes, I would suspect that all of the women here today with us and the people who will watch this later are thinking like, yeah, I'm with you. Like I want to feel that purpose, but why is it so hard to find it? Like, sometimes it just feels like it's like flitting away and you're like, oh, but is this my purpose? Is this what it's meant to be? Is this the right path? Why is it so hard to find?
Yeah. Well, you just answered it for us. It's elusive because it's a moving target.
Okay.
I mean, really, truly, that's why. That's one of the reasons. That's like a main reason. Okay. So we need to get beyond the idea that there is only one purpose, because there's multiple purposes, just like there's multiple life partners, potential life partners for you, right? But not all life partners are going to be ideal. So the idea is to choose the best one, the right one for you. The best one, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's the same with purpose. There's lots of options that you have to fulfill your purpose, but the idea is making sure that you choose the right one. So that's the first part that makes it kind of it's just a moving target. So it's a little confusing for
Yeah.
people. And then the second part is what I call the 5 paradoxes to purpose.
All
and this
right.
is really important. Yeah. So the definition of a paradox is something that, like a statement that seemingly seems absurd, but when you investigate it further, it rings true.
Okay.
So that's a paradox. Okay. So we have 5 paradoxes to purpose. And this is what really causes problems for people because they don't understand this.
Yeah.
So the first is you cannot follow your passions blindly to find your purpose. Now that's something that's like goes completely, it's like, wait a minute, everybody tells me that I need to follow my passions to find my purpose. So why are you saying that? And the reason I say that is because not all passions are equal.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. Not all passions indicate talent. You can be really passionate about something that you have absolutely no talent for. And you, right?
I'm thinking
It happens
about all
all
these
the time.
Yeah. Like people who are like, I'm really passionate about good food, but they have no talent to cook. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. You also, the interesting thing about following your passions blindly without kind of understanding them is your emotional grit. So some passions we're very passionate about, and they're kind of like areas that fire us up and get us angry or make us incredibly sad. And other passions are things that make us incredibly happy, that are really positive in the world. And you can have equal passion, emotion about these things. So I'll give you an example. I have a personal passion to eradicate sex trafficking in the world, personal passion of mine. But I don't have the emotional grit to do that work, to get in the trenches and do the work because I'm too emotionally sensitive to do it. Now, it could be a cause that I care about. It could be something that I give money to companies who go out and do that work, but it's not a passion I'm meant to pursue vocationally. So, yeah, so it's a little tricky. So you have to know, all right, what is my emotional makeup? And, and some people have a lot of grit. And so therefore, that's exactly what they should be doing.
That's a really great example.
Yeah.
Really great one. And I think it's starting to paint the picture, at least in my mind, of like how we do confuse things that we are passionate about and think that this is meant to be the direction we take our business or meant to be the thing that we follow. And we're like, I have to find a way to build a business around this. It may or may not.
Right. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I see women make all the time.
Yeah.
So that's one of the paradoxes. The other one is similar, and it's do not follow your talents to find your purpose. And I say that because talents are not indicators of passion.
Oh, this is like a triangle of things. Or like this.
It's all connected. Yeah. There are people, okay, so I'll give you another example. My father, really good detailed person. He does incredible detailed work. Like if you give him a spreadsheet, he's the guy that's going to go in there and nitpick it apart. But he hates to do it. It gives him a headache. It drives him crazy because, what he loves doing is art and music and, visionarying and all that sort of stuff. But he's really, really good at this stuff. So he's constantly getting asked to do this sort of stuff. And I know people who have regular jobs, that's often the case is, once your employers kind of see what you're naturally talented at, they're going to go, oh, Aimee will do that. She's great at that. Hillary will give that to Hillary. But it may not be something that you enjoy doing. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean that you enjoy it. So that's also not something you should necessarily blindly follow.
Great point. Are there any other paradoxes? Did we cover them all?
Yeah. Nope. We got a few more.
Oh.
So the other one is, do not attempt to fit in, right? Because fitting in is the social norm, and your purpose is not hanging out in your normalcy. Your purpose is hanging out somewhere it's like you have to break the glass ceiling of your safety to get through to your potential.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that if you're playing it safe and you're trying to fit in. So you really should not be, you just really should not be trying to do that. You need to be your unique self. And I call it like your unique ability.
Yeah.
But you need to know what those are, right? And the other one is, you know, so this is kind of like really kind of tied to it, which is, you know, you really have to focus on your fears. So it's a paradox because most people would say, well, aren't you supposed to focus on your strengths? And it's like, well, yes, of course you need to know your strengths,
Yeah.
but you also equally need to know your fears. And the reason you need to know your fears is what I had just said, is that our fears are designed to keep us safe. And they did a really good job when we were hunters and gatherers and we had to like, be careful, don't pet the lion, right?
Yeah.
But now what they really do is they hold us back. And so we do have these glass ceilings that we've created for ourselves that we don't know how to break through because we're not focused on our fears. Mm-hmm. And we're not going, okay, I'm fearful of that. That's a sign that something is up, that I'm playing life safe. And if I want to find my full potential, I can't play life safe. I've got to break through that fear and see what's on the other side of that fear. And I guarantee your potential is hanging out on the other side of that fear. So you have to focus on your fears.
Isn't that so true? I mean, I think, you know, a lot of the work we've done through Hatch Tribe in the past couple of months has really been around fear. And one big area has been around sales. And I think there's a lot of sort of hidden fear about making sales calls and reaching out to people and really working in the function of your business that truly delivers profit. And so we have been through that. And I think, you know, it is such a great observation of like, we can't pretend it's not there because we do have to face it at some point in time in our businesses. And, you know, if you're feeling it now before you've launched a business, it's going to show up later. We're going to deal with it at some point because it's always there. It's a constant companion.
Yep. Yes, it's so true. And you'll find new fears as, you know, as your business evolves, right? And as your purpose evolves, you will always come up against new fears. And so it's a really good practice to see those fears, to focus on those fears and go, oh, goody, a new fear, right? Something else I get to overcome. I get to, you know, growth, right? This is my opportunity for growth, more potential, you know, more of an extraordinary life. Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking about these 5 paradoxes you've outlined, and somewhere I feel like we start to like land in a space where like, oh, these are things that I am passionate about, that I happen to be good at. I'm talented, but I'm connected to it. I have the grit to do it. Does this then start to help us land in a space where we can say like, yeah, these are things that would be good for me to do as a vocation or launch as a business? Like, is this the process that helps us start landing?
Yes, exactly. This is what I call the process that you have to go to find your unique creative potential.
Okay.
So everybody has that. And there's 9 elements that make up your unique creative potential. You know, and we really, the elements that we cover are the 4 levels of consciousness, which are the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of you.
Okay.
So if you're going after your purpose, you really have to know aspects of yourself on all 4 levels. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is a lot of purpose coaches only teach like 1 or 2 levels. And they don't cover the entirety of who you are.
Like as a human.
And you're not human. Right? Which is all 4 levels. You know, we can't forget the emotional level. We can't forget the spiritual level. These are important aspects of finding your purpose.
Without a doubt.
So there's a process to understand yourself on all 4 levels. And then there's specific things that are pulled out and put into an area that's called your unique creative potential. And then from there, this is what I call the Avalon Method. We walk you through a simple sort of multi-step decision-making process that helps you take your UCP, your unique creative potential, and funnel it down to that final decision, which is that path that you're meant to be on. And then from there, you'll evolve, right?
For sure. One of the things that you and I were talking about, preparing for this is a concept called zone of genius. And I know that this is a little bit different than what you're talking about, but, I was first introduced to the concept of zone of genius by Gay Hendricks in the book called The Big Leap. And if any of you haven't read this, I highly recommend it. It's a lovely book. It talks a lot about fear too. But I wanted to get your perspective on where this sort of zone of genius comes in when we're thinking about purpose and we're thinking about our business, whether we own it now or we're thinking about launching one. How do we find it? How do we leverage it? How do we use its potential to really help us build and run a very successful business?
Yeah. So thank God for Gay, because he's a genius.
Agreed.
He is a genius, and his work has always just blown me away. So really happy to have him on the planet writing wonderful books like that. So Gay says that there's 4 aspects to our zone of genius. There are 4 quadrants. So it's like a Venn diagram, right? And to find your purpose, you really need to get all 4 of these right. So it takes a little bit of research. The first is doing what you love. But I would say it's like the passion conversation that we had. It's not only doing what you love, but it's choosing your passions consciously, choosing the right ones. Okay. So it's doing what you love, but it's being discerning about the ones that you choose to do. Mm-hmm. And the other one is, doing what you're good at. And I would take that a step further and say it's where you outshine and outperform others.
Oh, nice distinction. Right? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we all have aspects of our personality where we outshine and outperform others. Yeah. We just don't know. We don't necessarily know what those are, what that is about us. Right. So we have to kind of do some self-discovery to figure out what that is. And then we have to do a little discovery to figure out which passions we're going to follow that are going to be right for us. Mm-hmm. Then there's the, basically provide value for the world, right? Something that the world needs. And then there's do what you can get paid for.
Okay.
So there are areas where people will get 3, but not the 4th one. Right? They're doing something that they're good at, that they love to do, that maybe the world needs, but they haven't figured out how they can get paid for it.
I hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's very common, and that's a huge problem. And if you don't put just as much time into that part of your business, mm-hmm. it's not going to succeed, right? Because
another example I hear is they're doing work they can get paid for. They're good at it. And there's one other piece, but they're not connected to it. They don't actually love it, so that would have been me in my very first business. It's like I built a business and was quite good at it and it made money and it was fine. But I was dead on the inside. I'm not here. I don't want to be doing this work. Oh shit. Here we are again. So I can see how these 4 play such an important role in really making sure they're all intact.
Yeah, exactly. And you really can't have a thriving business if you're missing one of those 4 areas.
So it's, if someone's listening to this right now and they're thinking oh man, maybe my work as it exists today is not showing up in one of these quadrants that we've just identified. Mm-hmm. Is there hope? Is there hope that an entrepreneur who maybe finds themselves in that situation today can find that missing quadrant in their business and sort of reinvigorate it?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think it also just really depends on the business that they've chosen. So, when I get clients who say, okay, I've got a business and it's working, but it's not working as successful as I would like it to be, we really have to go in and go, okay, well, let's figure out what's not working. Is it you that's not working in the business? Because if it is, then maybe it does need to be a different business. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's just a subtle pivot that you need to make.
Good
right?
Point.
Because you sort of were focused in this area, but your strengths are really a little more over on this side. And so you need to kind of make this subtle little pivot.
Yeah.
I find that like when we really kind of get in and, you know, diagnose the business and what's going on, then we can figure out there's always a missing piece in there somewhere. So it's really just kind of, it's kind of finding that missing piece and putting that piece back in. But can you put a piece back in? Absolutely.
Okay, good. So I was thinking about for so many people who are joining us who are like, I already own a business, and they may be feeling a little of that. I don't want you to think that there's no hope. You know, in my world, it was like, you know, I exited the business, but I did toy for a long time with, was there something I could do within that business that would have changed how I felt about it? And I think there could have been solutions that might have been on that vein. It just wasn't the direction I chose to go.
Yeah, because it wasn't something you were passionate about, right? So you, so you were missing that quadrant.
Without a doubt.
So you found it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Here at the Hatch Tribe.
Yeah.
So there's another little topic that I wanted to dig into which is around competing intentions. So talk to me about what competing intentions are and where we might be seeing them show up in life and in business.
Yeah. So these are huge. These are like sneaky little monsters. They're like vampires with veins. With fangs. I hate them. So a competing intention is when you have one intention and another intention, and they're equally strong, and to fulfill one opposes the other.
Okay.
So when that occurs, the universe doesn't know how to support you. It doesn't know how to line things up for you to make that intention that you have work.
Can you give me an example of one that you've seen?
Yeah, so this is really common for women, very common for moms, right? So there's the intention to have a job, and then there's the intention to be a really good mother. And sometimes the two compete with each other because you feel like to pursue the job is going to hurt the children, you know, somehow. So it can be a limiting belief. That's often what it is, you know, because it's just a matter of, here's kind of how you get around a competing intention. You don't want to get rid of the idea that, you know, you want to be a good parent, that you want to raise good children, that you want to be a part of their upbringing. That's not something you want to like just get rid of, right? You always want to have that intention. It's very strong. It's very purposeful for you. It may even be one of your top, what I call ethics, morals, values, and principles, your EMVPs. And so that's a good one to have. But you also don't want it to hinder you from following your passion and finding meaning and purpose in your life, and maybe getting out of the house and getting a job outside of the house or whatever. What you need to do is understand, well, where did this belief that my work is going to sabotage or hurt my children, where did it come from? And it typically comes from childhood. Not always, but often we can kind of like trace it way, way back when we didn't have all of our sort of mental capacity to help us, right, discern at the time the situation that we're in when we first created that belief. That belief is in your life to protect you. But there comes a point where it's hurting you, because I know so many women who are terrified to start careers because they're stay-at-home moms and they're worried that their kids are going to suffer. And I think that it's just a shift in thinking and going, okay, well, A, where did that belief come from, right? Probably their childhood. And B, can we shift that so that you truly believe, okay, if I were to get a job outside of the home, I'm not the kind of mom, because I have this other strong intention to raise good, healthy children. I'm not the kind of mom that's just going to abandon them, let them be latchkey kids and have to figure it out on their own. I'm going to get them the best, home care nanny person that I can possibly find. That person is going to give my children a whole world of education and enrichment and culture that I don't bring to the table. Maybe they do things that I'm not even good at as a parent. So my kids get the added advantage of that. So it's just shifting those limiting beliefs. So competing intentions and limiting beliefs are aligned. I mean, they're definitely like in bed together.
Right.
And And so the first part is knowing that you have a competing intention.
Mm-hmm.
And the easy part of knowing that is, what area of my life have I wanted to make progress in that I have not been able to make progress in?
Mm-hmm.
Chances are there's a competing intention in there that's holding you back and keeping you like static.
I love this topic. And one area I can see this show up oftentimes with clients is around money. You know, and I think that the way we perceive our finances and the way we perceive our money oftentimes has been dictated from our childhood and how we were raised, et cetera. And we reach a point where we're running our businesses where we're like, oh, I want to make lots of money. And like, this is part of what I think I should be able to achieve. But then there's this other thing of like, do I deserve it? Does this make me a bad person if I make a bunch of money? Am I leaving people behind? Am I alienating other people?
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely see this competing intention in a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I see that too. And what I see also is that people have a belief that money is evil. You know, that money is, like, we have words that are common in our vernacular, like filthy, stinking rich.
That's a good point.
Well, why would we ever say that about money, right? I mean, it's kind of silly. So, you know, we have this false belief, right? It's a limiting belief. You're dead on with that, you know, money somehow makes people evil, or, you know, money is the root of all evil, these sayings and stuff that we grow up with. And we have this other, you know, intention or desire to make the money.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, it's, well, they oppose, right? To make money means I become evil, right? So you know, to do one opposes the other. So it's just, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Let's talk about another little topic, shifting gears slightly. I think a lot of times when we're dreaming up the idea for our business, so we haven't yet launched, or we're already a business owner and we're dreaming up like that thing we're going to do next, we get lots of ideas. There's lots of things on the paper. You know, I brainstormed up like 10 different businesses I could start, or I brainstormed up like 15 different new products I could launch. How do we tap into this idea of what our purpose is and really connecting that to the choices that we make when there are seemingly a plethora of choices on the table?
Yeah. So I think that when you have, let's just say you have two great ideas that you want to follow and you don't know which to pursue. We'll just use that as an example, because I know that that's very common for people. They want to start a business, but it's like, I got this great idea over here, but I also really got this great idea over here, and I don't know which one to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so the answer is, well, does it meet the criteria that it needs to meet? So the first criteria we talked about, your zone of genius. Does this great idea meet that criteria? Like, have you really investigated it fully so that you know that it's meeting all 4 quadrants?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, it does, and the other one is like, yep, that meets the criteria too, then you kind of go to like, okay, criteria number 2. Does it meet your needs? So you need to know your needs, right, to know if it's going to meet your needs. So that's something that I think most people don't understand. And it's because really to know our needs, we have to take assessments. We have to take tests to kind of figure that out. Our needs are not, they're kind of hidden from us a little bit. So I'll give you an example. I'm an extreme introvert. So I have a need to work alone in a quiet environment by myself. If I were to take on a job where I'm working like kind of in a mosh pit, you know, where everybody's sort of desks are next to each other, it wouldn't work for me. I would suffer greatly. And when you don't meet your needs, you go into stress behavior. And when you go into stress behavior, you go into saboteur behavior. So you actually sabotage yourself.
Oh.
So you need to make sure that when you're looking at 2 businesses that are equally pleasing to you, you know, does it meet the zone of genius? Yes, yes. Is it going to meet my needs? If the answer is yes, yes, right, then you go kind of like to the 3rd level, which is where we get kind of a little more spiritual. Mm-hmm. Is this on my spiritual path? And to know that, you need to know what your spiritual path is, which is, you need to have a process that helps you to connect with your intuition. Some people call it your, inner guidance system. Other people call it your higher power, whatever name you want to give it. Yeah. There's the part of you that was here before you came in and the part of you that will be here when you leave. Mm-hmm. And that part of you is your intuition or higher purpose or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the part that you've got to tap into to understand, your sort of overarching theme. Because here's what's interesting. Your soul has its own set of attributes that it brings in with it. It sort of has its own, we could say, multiple lifetime experiences or, mm-hmm. Whatever your belief is, but it's coming in already with strengths, natural talents, your soul.
Right.
So you need to know, the soul needs to communicate with you, and you need to be open to receive that communication so that you understand, oh, okay, I get it. So this is my sort of physical experience and what I'm naturally talented in, or, where I outperform others or whatever. But then there's that soul strength, that I need to know of, like, kind of the overarching theme to my life. So which one is more in alignment with that?
Yeah. I think that when I talk to clients about this, and we're often doing research around whatever phase they're in their business, I talk to them about the need to compile data, because the data is important. It's part of the equation, and we need that. We want to be able to look at our business and have some objective measure. And then there's this other part, which is like, I also need to have the gut and intuition. And I think especially as women, we can tap into that. And if we have good data and we can marry that with like intuition and gut, we usually make really good decisions, but we need both.
Exactly. Right, exactly. And I think that can be a real missing piece for a lot of people, just because they're either not choosing to, they're choosing not to do it, or they haven't done it before, or they just don't have a good process for tapping in.
Right, for sure. I wanted to open it up to everybody who's in attendance live with us. So if you do have any questions, I'd love for you to pop them into the comments or the question box down at the bottom. And really, anything's on the table. Like, we'll talk about whatever questions you have. So this is the thing I always encourage you, whether you're in the member circle or you're in our Facebook group or you're interacting with us here, is there's really no such thing as a dumb question, because chances are the thing you're thinking about, there's another person who's on here right now who's having the exact same thought and is just waiting for someone to say it. And so, lead, ask the questions. We're here to answer it. And there truly are no dumb questions. Like, we've all been in some similar set of shoes at some point in time. And so we really encourage you to lean in and ask them. While you're drumming up questions, I wanted to read a comment that Erin had earlier. We were talking about those 5 paradoxes, and she says, whoa, that was a truth bomb. Exactly how I felt working in Title I schools. I can't emotionally keep doing the work 24/7. So now I mentor 1 kiddo instead of working for 600 kiddos. And I think that's such a beautiful example of where, you can feel really drawn to something and then also realize, like, this cannot be my vocation.
Yeah, so exactly.
Thanks for sharing that.
Clearly she's got a talent there, so she's still pursuing that talent, but she's kind of like made that pivot. That little pivot that she needed to make.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we do have a question, and this is actually from Erin. She says, do you have a resource that you use to determine your needs? Oh, great question. And I know, Aimee, you mentioned, of course, that you like to use some assessment tools and things. So what's normally in your toolbox?
Yeah, so I have a course, right? Rad Academy course, which is a part of my Radical Female Academy program. Yeah. And inside the course, we have several, what we call psychometric assessments. And so psychometric assessment is just a fancy word for a behavioral assessment. And I have researched hundreds of assessments to really narrow it down. What is the best scientifically valid and reliable psychometric assessments on the planet at our current state. And so that's what I use. I use the Berkman Method, which I think is just phenomenal. It's a phenomenal assessment, and it will tell you your needs. It will tell you when your needs are not met, what your stress behaviors are. It tells you, like what you're likely to do to sabotage yourself when your stress behaviors, occur. Really good stuff to know. And another really interesting thing from this one assessment, and we have several in the course, is your motivators. Because we think of motivators as like our passions, right? But motivators really are sneaky. They're little things that we don't know about ourselves that kind of put that fire under our butt. So, for example, some people are very competitive. Competition is a motivator, but it's only a motivator for some people. For other people, if you throw them into a competitive thing and they're not competitive, they're completely demotivated. Right. They're like, I give up. I'm not even going to try. Don't even want to go there.
I've seen
so
that.
So there's assessments to understand your needs and your motivators and everything else that you need to understand about yourself.
Great. And you said that one method was the Berkman method. Did I get that right? Berkman.
Yeah,
method.
the Berkman method.
Cool.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah. So that's in the course, and there's people who spend $2,000 to do a Berkman method consultation with a coach. I'm a certified Berkman method consultant. The whole course costs significantly less than that.
Yeah.
So they're getting a really good assessment for like almost,
that's
nothing
awesome.
Really. Yeah.
Great. And Erin, I hope that answers your question. Perfect. So if anybody else has questions, pop them in the comments below, because we've still got a little bit more time. We've got about 20 minutes left, and I do have a couple more questions for Aimee. So while I'm asking her a few more questions, y'all pop your questions in, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about this little world of things. So when we started talking about this particular topic, there was one thing you brought up, which is like, don't, and I'm going to butcher this, so just correct me, but something to the effect of like, don't just do what other people are doing. It's not about doing what's normal. And the idea of really like differentiating ourselves from the norm. So talk to me about why that's so important, but also why it's so hard.
Yeah. So it's really important because in this sort of like crazy online world that we live in, starting a business, you will find, or you have found if you've started a business, that the minute you think of something, somebody's already thought about it and they've already started doing it, right?
100%.
I mean, there's pretty much nothing that you can come up with that's completely and totally 100% original. So because of that, we get a little like downtrodden, or we get disheartened because we put all this time and energy into building something. And then, there's like 20 other businesses that are doing it that maybe weren't even doing it when you started building it. But now all of a sudden, like they're popping up like crazy.
Yeah.
This stuff happens, right? So it's not so much about having your business be unique. It's about what's unique about you in that business. So it's bringing your unique ability to the business, because that's what is going to attract and draw the people that you're meant to attract and draw. You're going to do what you do differently than what she does or he does or whatever. And so it's really, if you have a firm understanding of what differentiates you from the social norm, then I think that you can build that business with purpose, but with confidence, because it's like, it doesn't really matter. She can go off and do her thing. He can do his thing, and, 500 other people could do the same thing. I know what makes me unique inside of the vertical that I've chosen to do this business. And you kind of like drive with that.
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like in the world of coaching, I'll just say, because this is an example that I think might help as everybody else is thinking about this. I realize that many times I'm not going to be the right fit for a potential client. Like, they may not like my personality. They might not like the fact that I curse too much. They might not like the style of my program. That, there's a number of things. And I'm also okay with that. Like, I want a client who feels like I am really the right fit for them. and if I'm not, I would love to send them to someone who is the right fit for them, because I think that, you know, you want to be paired with the right person or the right business. And I think, you know, that's in an area, an arena where like your personality matters, but it doesn't in all businesses in the same way. But the way that I like to think of this is like, many times if you have a product or service-based business where you're not directly involved as a personality, it's really about the culture that you're creating. You know, so it's like, what's the culture of the company or of your team, and how do they behave, and how are they really living out your brand, and how do they see your services come to life? And it's not about necessarily being like, our product has this one unique feature. I mean, that could be, but oftentimes it's really in like the culture that we build and the how we show up in our work. And I think sometimes those are the things that really make such a difference, and they connect with people in a different way.
Yeah. And I think too, it helps you to find that little niche too. You know, some people have kind of a broad sense of what they want to do, and they don't understand sort of like, you know, the little niche that they should be doing. Right. And that niche is that part of them that's unique and different. But if they don't know what that is, they can't find that niche.
Yeah.
You know, they're guessing. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Aimee, how did you find your purpose?
Yeah. So I love this quote, which is, we teach what we need to know the most. Mm-hmm. This finding my purpose has been a lifelong project for me, and it really kicked my ass hard. And I you know, I mean, just straight up, it has been the single greatest, you know, issue that I needed personally to resolve. And I think because it was such a deep rooted issue that I just couldn't seem to get around. I mean, I had done 44 different jobs by the time I was 30.
Wow.
You know, like I had really I was trying everything. I was out there exploring the world and just going, okay, a little of this. Nope. Maybe that. Nope. What about this? Nope. And it was like, no. And it was just kind of like, oh my God, how can I at this point still not know what it is that I'm meant to do? How is that even possible? And so because it was such a frustration of mine, I just, you know, it was something I was not willing to give up or give in, and just kind of like, okay, I guess I'm just going to live a life of lackluster. You know, I guess I'm just going to kind of live a mundane life. I just wasn't willing to do that. I had to really dig deep to discover the process that I now teach in the Rad Academy course. Mm-hmm. And through that kind of like deep internal journey, if you will, I really did I did my heroine's journey.
Right.
I really came full circle, and I realized, not even knowing what I was doing, oh my God, I figured it out. You know, like I actually, I really, like, I had to go, okay, it's this part, and it's a little of that, and it's some of this, and let's not forget this. And it's just sort of like, and then we put it all together. And there was nothing out there doing that.
Yeah.
You know, there was no one like taking the entirety of who a person is. They're just taking like small parts and pieces. And it was like, it's not hitting the mark. And so when I hit the mark, here's the irony of it all. When I hit the mark and I put myself through the entire, you know, I went through the process, creating the process, but then I started from the very beginning once it was created, and I put myself through the whole thing again, just to see, like, okay, and now I built it. Now I want to see if this like really works. So I'm going to go through with fresh eyes and a new mind, and see if like I come out the other end, figuring out what it is that I meant to do. And when I went through that process, I came out the other end, it was all pointing me to doing the exact work that I'm doing. And I went, oh my God.
That's it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about the Rad Academy course, because that's one of the, I mean, as you just said, like, this has been life's work. You've built this, you've found something that truly not only has helped you land on your own purpose, but obviously has helped countless other women, other entrepreneurs, other, you know, business execs really find what it is that they want to be doing. So talk to me a little bit about the course, what it looks like, because I think there may be some people who will watch this and say, like, this could be a really good fit for me right now as I'm trying to figure it all out too.
Yeah. So the course is 9 modules. Each module kind of really is layered upon the next module. So I sort of start my course takers, my members out kind of slowly in a self-discovery process. So in the first module, they get to uncover if they're more inclined towards people, information, or things. Super basic, but something that we really need to know, because that lays the foundation of a lot of sort of like, it's easy to take information and things, if you're not inclined towards those things, out of the equation completely. So now you just have this like funnel of, okay, I'm people oriented. Right. So it's already, we're just kind of like, we're going to get rid of the distraction. We're going to focus on what it is that you, now within that funnel, I mean, there's a lot, right?
Of course.
Just, you know, there's so much. There's neuroscience, and there's biology, and there's, you know, there's social science. And I mean, there's just counseling, and it's just like endless. So you still have a lot to like sort of sort through.
Right.
But that's kind of like the first one is, and it's what I call your natural talents, because you're naturally inclined towards people, information, or things. We're sort of like born that way, being inclined to that. Women who have children know that like they've got kids who like really love to put those, you know, puzzle pieces together and like do the Legos, and like they like taking things apart. And those are things kids, you know, whereas like other kids are more, you know, inclined towards like snuggling on your lap and, you know, wanting to like play with the people, and, you know, those are people oriented. And so that's the first module. Then we do sort of like a massive brain dump so that people just have the satisfaction of knowing all the work they've done up to this point, including work that they're currently doing, is relevant.
Okay.
We're not going to just like dismiss that.
Right.
It's all relevant. It's all purposeful. It all gets to go.
That's great.
Right?
That's great.
Yep. But there's a way to organize it so that you can think of it in terms of buckets, like, interesting. I'm seeing correlations that I tend to do things here. I tend to read books like this. I tend to like movies like that. I tend to take workshops on this. You know, it's kind of like, it's further funneling it down a little bit. Then in module 2 is the personality blueprint. So that's where we do the Berkman method, and we dive really, really deep into your behaviors.
Okay.
And it's all, that's what makes up our personality, are your behaviors. So what are they? What are your natural talents? What are your, you know, your instincts? What are your stress behaviors? What are your needs? What are your motivators? All of it.
Okay.
And we take a deep dive into that. And then we go into your character strengths. So those are a little different. You need to understand what your top character strengths are, because when we tend to use our character strengths naturally without even knowing that we're doing it, it's just sort of our natural go-to.
Yeah.
But if we overuse them and we flip them on the, you know, flip them around, they can be saboteurs too. They can actually we can overuse them. So, you know, for example, one of my top character strengths is forgiveness. Okay. So it's a strength that I have, but how do you know how to apply forgiveness to your work? It's not like, you know, crunching numbers, right? Or, I mean, it's different. So we have to know what our character strengths are. We have to know if we overuse them and what happens when we do that. And we have to know how that applies to the work that we want to do, to our purpose. Then we get into your ethics, morals, values, and principles, because those are your whys. That's your reason for doing what you're doing, and you need to know what your top EMVPs are. And there's really no way to discern the difference between an ethic, a moral, a value, or a principle. They're all kind of related. Yeah. So we just sort of glom them into one area. It's your EMVPs. We're going to figure out what those are, right? We're going to move on. And then we move on to your impediments to success. And so that's really talking about those competing intentions and getting in there and finding out like, okay, well, do I have any? What are they? How do I get rid of them? Right. What are my limiting beliefs? You know, do I have money blocks? You know?
Yeah, we've all got something in that department too. There's limiting beliefs in all of us. So
Yes, everybody. Yep, absolutely. And you want to figure out what those are before you go into business, ideally. Or if you're in business, you want to know what they are so you can get rid of them, so you can get on to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that may be the only problem that's hindering you right now.
It
could be that simple, right? It's not that you need to change the business, it's just you need to change the beliefs. Yeah, I know. That's preaching to the choir. So there's that. And then we go into your divine blueprint. And so that's the spiritual process where I take my members through a journeying process. So they get to tap into that higher wisdom, that inner knowing, that future self that wants to come back and talk to them.
Awesome.
It's a really profound, cool process that people really love. I mean, it's just, that's probably most people's favorite module in the whole course.
That's awesome.
Makes me happy, you know. And then we go through the Avalon Method. So the Avalon Method is taking all of that information, but it's taking the right information. So not everything gets to go, but the parts that you need to be able to make the decision that you're going to make, those are the parts that get populated into a digital workbook, and then it gets auto-populated into an area called your unique creative potential. Cool. And then the Avalon Method walks you through the business decisions that you need to make, keeping your divine blueprint and your personality and your ethics, morals, values, and principles and your natural talents, all of that stuff, and helps to funnel you down to that sort of final decision. And then once you have that final decision, we give you a big, beautiful mind map of yourself. So you get to see everything that you learned about yourself in the course and how it applies, how you will apply it to building your business, what that business is, why it's important to you, how you'll organically grow that business, you know, all those things that are just really, you know, good things to know in a beautiful big mind map. So you get to keep that forever.
That's awesome.
And then we walk you through, you know, basic foundational business building pieces. And after that, we introduce you to our business startups. I mean, our startup experts.
Yeah.
So we hold your hand, you know, once you know what it is that you're going to do, or you've made that career pivot, now you know you're like on the right path, because it works for it works for men too.
Yeah.
But we focus on women, you know. Then you need to kind of be, you know, guided through the process of building that business. And so we're right there with you every step of the way. We guide you with, you know, highly recommended business experts.
That's awesome.
You know, so
I think, you know, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, it would have been amazing when I was going through like the process of trying to figure out what the heck it was I wanted to do, to have had a resource like this. And, you know, I started my first business over 7 years ago, and I've owned multiple businesses. And, you know, there's pieces of what you've outlined that certainly I found sort of haphazardly on my own. And, you know, over the years, I've continued to add things to my own tool set, you know, and tried to bring them to light in my own business. But I think the way you've built this is so impressive, and especially to get to a point where we can really look at like all of it in one place and say, these are the things that are like the foundation of who I am and how this really is going to manifest itself in my business. And I think, like, what a gift to be able to do that work, because it's, you know, it's owning a business is amazing, and it's complicated and it's challenging. And like, one of the most amazing things, at least in my work, and I know that you've experienced this too on the West Coast and working with your clients, is like having some help along the way. It just changes your vibe, and it changes your belief system, and it changes that confidence level of like, I can do this. And you're not alone. Like, you're just not alone. And I think so often as business owners, or especially when you're trying to figure it out, you're like, man, I must be the only one. Nobody else is going through this. And like, it's not just you. It's like, it was me, it was Aimee, it was all these other women on the call that have, you know, owned businesses or are, and it's all of us. And I think this is such a unique program to be able to go through to help distill out some of that information in a very linear and organic way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I know, the work that you're doing is so sacred because it's exactly that. You're providing community, you're providing networking, you're providing collaboration, you're giving women business tools that are effective because you've been through the trenches. And I think that that's really important. There's a lot of, so-called guru business experts out there, the big guns, right? The big speakers and the multi, whatevers. I used to be married to one of those. So I really, understand that whole kind of thing. But I think that what it took for them to build their business is not what it would take for you to build your business now, because they did that 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So the people like you, and you've been in business long enough, 7 years, I think you said, when you started Hatch Tribe. So long enough to know, right. And to have made some mistakes and learned and whatever to offer awesome advice and good business sense, but not so long ago that the information that you're sharing is not relevant.
Yeah, certainly.
So, yeah.
So Aimee, if people want to learn more about the Rad Academy and participating in the course, just tell me a few more details about that. And I will point out, just if you're watching this with us, there's a link at the bottom of the screen that says special offer for the Rad Academy, which will take you directly to this link so you can find out more information, reach out to Aimee, et cetera, et cetera. But tell us what we need to know as we sort of wrap up for today.
Yeah, so I think, a couple of things. I think for a lot of people, it's important that they do their own kind of discovery in this area and that they really check in with themselves intuitively and ask, is this the right time? Is this the right course? Is this the information that I've been looking for? Because we're not about working with just anyone. We're about working with people that we know kind of like it's divine timing for them. Yeah. Because when people know, they know. When they're searching for this work and they're out there struggling to find it, it is a huge, huge struggle and they're suffering. And, so that's not fun. So I want everybody on this call to know that they're more than welcome to call me. I can put in a link here if, a little.
You can pop it in.
I'll pop that in there so they can schedule a call and we can take a little deep dive into their personal experience and see if this course makes sense.
Awesome.
And then if there's any other questions, of course, people can just write to support@radicalfemale.com and
perfect.
My team and I'll be happy to dig into whatever they need to dig into.
So there is an offer, and I want to make sure that we at least say that just in case any of you are thinking like, what is it? Aimee, will you tell us what that offer is for people who joined us today or who are going to watch this shortly thereafter on the replay?
Yeah, so the course is $1,500 and the special Hatch Tribe offer is $997. And what you get for that is one-on-one coaching. So through the whole 8 weeks of the course, you really get to have your hand held. Any questions, any concerns, if you want to dive deeper, if you want to bring in other outside resources, we're totally there for you 100%. And so I'm one person and I have a small team, and so I can't afford to do it with everyone. So we offer it for the first 10 people that sign up, get that special offer. And
that's great. So you get to go through the course. You'll get to have help from Aimee and her team and really walk hand in hand and sort of go through this process. And then let me ask this question, because I suspect this may be on people's minds. Do you feel like this is useful for someone who hasn't yet started a business? And is it useful to someone who already has? They're already down the line of owning a business and are thinking like something's got to give.
Yes, to the first. And I would say it depends on the second.
Okay.
And it really, honestly, I don't want to take anyone that I think that they're too far down the road in their business that the information wouldn't be, I think it's relevant to everyone. Mm. I think that we can apply it to our lives. We can apply it to our relationships. It's good quality information. But I think that requires a conversation to just check in and kind of see what's going on with their business, why it's not working, and if we can help.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's a great point. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any other questions, but if you do have one and you can pop it in here in the next couple of seconds, let me know. And then while we're sort of wrapping this up, Aimee, I wanted to just ask you, are there any other little sort of key takeaways you'd like to leave our audience with today as we wrap this little baby up?
Key takeaways. I just want any woman that's on here listening and struggling with, you know, what is my purpose? How do I find meaning to the work that I do? I want you to know that I get it. I understand. I have been where you are. I know it's painful. And I know that it's sort of like birthing a baby, that once you do it, it's the most amazing experience. You know, like you're never sad for having gone through that initial pain, but once you get through that process and you come out the other end, you've got something that you can use literally for a lifetime. And I honor people who value that, who are looking to live extraordinary lives, who are searching, soul searching, and who really want to have meaning to the work that they do. And more importantly, I truly believe that women are the future. I believe that through the businesses that we're starting, we are the ones that are going to change the world and make the world the way that we need to see it. And so I honor every single woman's purpose and value. And it doesn't need to be a big, lofty spiritual thing. It doesn't need to be a humanitarian cause. What it needs to be is it just needs to provide value. So it needs to reduce pain, provide pleasure, or solve a problem. And that's it, you know, and I know that every single one of us can do that. We have a purpose.
Oh, I love that. I mean, this really, it's such a joy to be able to share this conversation with you. And you know, my mission is very similar to yours. It's that I want to see more women really step into this position of living in full alignment with that person that they believe they can be. And, you know, sometimes we need a little bit of support to get there, and it will come up in different times in our lives and different times in our businesses. And, you know, we are very much creating this new world that to me has a lot of opportunity and a lot of possibility and looks really up. And it takes all of us, you know, stepping in and doing this work and being like, it's possible. And let me show you the way, and like grabbing the hand of a girl who's behind you and taking her along for the ride. So thank you for the work that you do. And thank you so much for spending this time with us today. And we will, in the comments here below, we'll put the link so that you can see it in another place for the Rad Academy. So you can check that out. And we'll also put the email address or contact information for Aimee. So if you want to reach out for her and inquire whether or not this program is a good fit for you or not, you can reach out for her that way. And of course, if you have any questions for me, you can always reach out as well. And I'll put that in the contact info too. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you, Aimee.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll talk to you all soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.